Deep within Sagittarius A, something has gone wrong. A massive, localized collapse of spacetime is currently tearing through the center of our galaxy, creating a void of absolute nothingness that defies every law of physics we know. If the structural integrity of our galactic core fails, everything we understand about the universe changes today. In 2026, the Event Horizon Telescope pointed its global array at the center of our galaxy to observe our supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A, but instead found a localized region of 0-pixel data. To truly understand the sheer panic this caused, you have to understand what the EHT actually is. It's not just one telescope looking up at the sky, it's an Earth-sized interferometer.
We are talking about an array of radio observatories stretching from the South Pole to Spain, all perfectly synced using atomic clocks, gathering so many petabytes of data that they can't even send it over the internet. They literally have to fly the physical hard drives on airplanes to supercomputers in Massachusetts and Germany just to stitch the image together. When they did this in 2019 for the black hole in M87 and again in 2022 for our very own Sagittarius A star, we saw exactly what Einstein predicted: a glowing, asymmetrical ring of superheated gas framing the dark, ominous shadow of the event horizon. But the 2026 data run didn't return a shadow. It returned an error, a void, a localized region of 0-pixel data.
Traditionally, black holes operate as cosmic vacuum cleaners with massive gravity where light cannot escape, casting a shadow and warping the light around them through gravitational lensing. Think of gravitational lensing like looking at a candle through the bottom of a thick wine glass. The mass of the black hole is so unimaginably dense that it bends the very fabric of space and time around it, taking the light from stars behind it and smearing it into a trippy, funhouse mirror ring. This is how we know a black hole is there, even if we can't see the singularity itself.
We see the universe bending around it. However, this new 2026 data showed an absolute lack of lensing. The light from the dense star clusters sitting behind the galactic center isn't bending, it isn't smearing, and it isn't lensing. It's simply stopping. It is acting as if a chunk of spacetime has been completely wiped out. It isn't a black hole, it's a blind spot in reality. Initially, everyone assumed it had to be a calibration error. When you are combining radio wave data from across the entire planet, a dropped line of code, a misaligned atomic clock, or even bad weather in Chile can corrupt the output. But the astrophysical community realized the terrifying gravity of the situation when the standard orbital trajectories of nearby stars began to deviate.
For decades, astronomers at the Max Planck Institute have been tracking a specific group of stars right at the center of the galaxy, known as the S-stars. The most famous of these is star S2. S2 orbits Sagittarius A star at breakneck speeds, reaching almost 3% the speed of light when it swoops in close. Its orbit is the ultimate proof that a 4 million solar mass anchor exists at the center of our galaxy. But during the 2026 observation window, S2 didn't slingshot around the core. It stopped accelerating. It simply drifted, continuing on a straight line, as if the gravity in the center of our galaxy had suddenly been turned off.
This anomaly actively violates our most fundamental understanding of space-time geometry. Normally, when a black hole consumes matter, it doesn't do it quietly. It forms an accretion disk, a swirling, chaotic maelstrom of gas, dust, and shredded stars. As this material spirals closer to the event horizon, it gets compressed. It generates massive thermal friction, heating up to billions of degrees and blasting out violent flares of X-rays that we can detect all the way from Earth. You can literally watch a black hole eat because of the sheer violence of the radiation it spits out. This new void, however, is consuming light and matter without any corresponding friction, heat, or X-ray bursts. It is perfectly, unnervingly silent.
It completely bypasses the laws of thermodynamics. Think about what that actually means. If matter is falling into a gravity well, it has to heat up. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. But here, the energy is vanishing. This implies that the matter isn't being crushed into a singularity. It is simply ceasing to exist. This impossible reality has forced theoretical physicists to drag a terrifying concept out of the fringes of science fiction and onto the whiteboard: the geometric decay theory. While general relativity dictates that gravity is the bending of the space-time fabric, like a heavy bowling ball sitting on a rubber trampoline, geometric decay suggests the fabric itself is unraveling. It isn't a bowling ball stretching the trampoline. It is a cigarette burning a hole straight through it. It is creating a pocket of absolute nothingness. And because there is no traditional event horizon, it emits no Hawking radiation. Stephen Hawking theorized that black holes slowly leak radiation over trillions of years because of quantum fluctuations at their edge. But Hawking radiation requires an edge to exist. This void doesn't have an edge in the spatial sense. General relativity has fundamentally failed to predict or explain this phenomenon, leaving our greatest minds scrambling in the dark. Adding to the overwhelming urgency, this boundary of non-existence isn't static. It is actively expanding and displacing the dense star clusters of the galactic center. To measure this, astronomers turn their attention to G2, a massive, highly scrutinized gas cloud that has been drifting perilously close to the galactic center for years.
We expected G2 to be spaghettified, a real scientific term for when the gravity on the front of an object is so much stronger than the gravity on the back that the object gets stretched out into a long, thin noodle of glowing plasma. But that didn't happen. Real-time observations tracked G2 as it approached the void's boundary. Rather than stretching, the void simply swallowed it, line by line. The front of the cloud touched the invisible boundary and vanished, leaving absolutely no trace of energy behind. It was like watching a video game asset glitch through the floor. The speed of the void's expansion suggests something vastly more dangerous than a simple spatial anomaly, a phase transition of the vacuum itself. To understand this, you have to realize that the empty vacuum of space isn't actually empty. It sits at a specific baseline energy level, often called a false vacuum. Think of it like a ball resting in a small divot on the side of a steep mountain. It's stable for now, but if it gets pushed just a little too hard, it will roll out of the divot and plummet all the way to the bottom of the valley. That bottom of the valley is the true vacuum. The galactic core appears to be dropping into this true vacuum state. This expanding bubble of nothingness cannot support the laws of physics as we know them. Inside that bubble, the speed of light, the mass of an electron, and the strength of gravity are all rendered meaningless. It is fundamentally threatening the structural integrity of the entire galactic core. This forces a massive, uncomfortable redefinition of the singularity model. For a century, we've assumed that if you compress enough mass into a small enough space, you get a singularity, a point of infinite density. But astrophysicists are now confronting the very real possibility that Sagittarius A star was never a mass-based object to begin with. Instead, it was a gateway, a localized puncture into a non-spatial dimension where concepts like length, width, and depth simply do not exist.
New simulations running on the world's most powerful quantum computers propose that the galactic core is undergoing a localized collapse. This perfectly explains why thermodynamics are being bypassed. You cannot have friction, you cannot have heat, and you cannot have kinetic energy if there is no physical space for particles to move in. The matter isn't being destroyed in violation of physics, it is being removed from the spatial dimensions entirely. The terrifying implication of this is that the center of our galaxy is no longer anchored by the immense gravity of a supermassive black hole. The anchor has snapped.
The Milky Way is now being unraveled by a spreading vacuum instability.
As the central gravitational anchor changes state, the long-term impact on the Milky Way will be profound and irreversible. Galaxies hold their shape because of the delicate balance of momentum and the central gravitational pull. Without that pull, the innermost stars will continue to drift outward, losing their orbital velocity. Over millions of years, the Milky Way's tightly wound, beautiful spiral arms will unfurl. We will transition from a highly structured spiral galaxy into a loose, disorganized, drifting blob of rogue stars fading into the cosmic dark. While Earth and our solar system sit securely in the Orion Arm, some 26,000 light-years away from the immediate expansion, we are not immune to the shockwaves of reality breaking down.
Even if this void expands at the absolute speed of light, we technically have 26,000 years before the deletion wave physically reaches our sun. But gravity doesn't just hold things together, it ripples. And we are already monitoring those ripples in the gravitational field. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, in isolated neutrino detectors, sensors are picking up strange, inexplicable anomalies. Up in orbit, satellites mapping the cosmic microwave background, the residual heat left over from the Big Bang itself, are showing highly localized, impossible cooling spots directly aligned with the galactic center.
In response to this existential data, modern physics is undergoing an urgent and frantic shift toward a quantum void framework. Laboratories, universities, and space agencies are abandoning decades of string theory and dark matter research to focus entirely on understanding vacuum decay. We are rushing to prepare for a universe that is fundamentally changing its own structural operating system in real time. We're no longer just passive observers charting the stars. We are watching the cosmos debug itself, deleting the errors of mass and gravity, and threatening to take the rest of the galaxy with it.
We aren't just observing the universe anymore. We are watching it debug itself in real time. I'm currently rendering the newest localized collapse simulations to show you exactly what this unraveling looks like up close. And trust me, the motion graphics on that next breakdown are going to completely break your brain. If you want to see that video the exact second it drops, you need to hit subscribe and turn on notifications right now. We are in for a wild ride, and I'll be dropping the new EHT data as soon as it leaks. But before you go, I need to know what you think. Drop a comment down below. Is this expanding void just the ultimate cosmic deletion? Or is it a gateway to a universe with completely different physical laws? Sound off in the comments.